What do the games Chrono Cross, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and Perfect Dark all have in common? These three amazing games were all reviewed back in 2000, but they were not that year's best games. At least, not according to Next Generation Magazine, who gave all three of these undisputed classics 4 stars out of 5. As crazy as it sounds, Next Generation gave 24 different games a higher score than Jet Set Radio. I'm talking about the perfect 5-star rating, and today we're going to go through all of these reviews to see what makes them worthy of this coveted prize. This is Next Generation's 5-star reviews, and these are the 24 best games of 2000.
Is it my imagination? Are we going like 1 mile an hour? What's going on here? Oi! Geezer!
What?
Our flight's in 10 minutes!
Well, we better hurry then, didn't we?
Buckle up, boys, buckle up! Come on, mate!
So, let's face the facts. I'm hot, you're hot.
Who wants to pet me?
Crash Team Racing. Once he gets behind the wheel, things get ugly.
You and me. Booyah, Grandma. Booyah.
PlayStation.
Up first, at number 1, we have Age of Wonders on PC. Similar in many ways to games like Master of Magic, Warlords, and New World Computing's Heroes series, Age of Wonders doesn't break a lot of new ground in fantasy turn-based gaming, but it does bring the best elements from all of those games together in one truly amazing package. Age of Wonders stands tall as one of the best games of the year. So, unless you're big on self-deprivation, go out and purchase this right now. Number 2, Baldur's Gate 2 Shadows of Ammon on PC. Baldur's Gate 2 reveals its primary conflict in the first minutes of gameplay and then offers literally hundreds of hours of adventure without losing that initial tension. Some RPGs achieve length by repeating a few good elements indefinitely. Baldur's Gate 2 thrives on variety. There are quests, but very few leave you feeling like a super heroic mouse on a treadmill. Most encounters in the game allow for multiple solutions, and many can be pursued or left alone, at your discretion. Life-changing decisions are peppered throughout, enabling you to choose a development path for the character and then experience the consequences. More than simply a passing, enjoyable distraction, Baldur's Gate 2 is an experience worth savoring. Number 3, Crash Team Racing on PlayStation. The simple fact is, kart racing games haven't really progressed at all since Miyamoto released Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo. Until now. This looks like a traditional kart game, but Naughty Dog has simultaneously stood the genre on its head and improved it immensely. Unlike other kart games, where staying on the track is everything and one screw-up will cost you the race, in CTR, staying on the track is easy, and maintaining a constant stream of turbos is essential for victory. This is a stunning achievement. It looks great, it advances the genre by changing, and we'd argue improving, the challenge, and it's about the best 4-player game on PlayStation. Oh yeah, and the AI doesn't cheat. Number 4, Crimson Skies on PC. Crimson Skies is the flight simulator for people who hate flight sims. Instead of endless micromanagement and the constant battle against the controls that are the hallmark of most flight games, Crimson Skies is more along the lines of an action game that accidentally found itself in the air. The flight model is almost apologetic about gravity. Oops, did you hit the ground at 200 miles an hour? Sorry about that, let me bounce you back into the air with minimal damage. As strange as it sounds, it works beautifully. You really don't ever have to worry about the controls outside of the joystick and throttle, since these planes are basically bicycles with wings. Crimson Skies is a breath of fresh air, fun, fantastic, and different. Number 5, Dead or Alive 2 on Dreamcast and PlayStation 2. Dead or Alive introduced game players to a whole new form of motion sickness. This 3D fighter, which saw action on the PlayStation, offered some decent fighting, solid graphics, and interesting characters. But people came in droves to see the bouncing breasts. Each woman in the game, to put it mildly, was endowed with assets far beyond those of mortal women. For the sequel, Tecmo tamed the exaggeratedly bouncy behemoths and concentrated instead on rock-solid gameplay, responsive controls, a series of wonderful fighting arenas, and graphics that rival those of the Dreamcast's other uber fighter, Soul Calibur. You'd have to be dead and buried not to enjoy Dead or Alive 2. Number 6. Deus Ex on PC. Every once in a while, a game comes along that restores the faith in even the most jaded among us. And though in some ways it runs over the territory first explored in System Shock 1 and 2, Deus Ex is exactly that kind of game. Put simply, this is the complete package. The story is involving, the dialogue smartly written, and the game world itself is fully interactive and truly feels alive in often startling ways. This is hands down one of the best PC games ever made. Stop reading and go get it yourself now. Number 7. Diablo II on PC. First, go buy a copy of this game. We'll wait. Just as it was with the original, you don't need a review to tell you how good Diablo II is. Of course, some of the skeptics may still require convincing. You get a world that's about 4 times larger than the original, so bet on around 30 to 40 hours of role-playing from start to finish. Plus, you can play with as many as 7 of your friends on Battle.net or over LAN. As we go to press, Battle.net is going through some serious growing pains. But our guess is that it will be much more stable by the time you read this review. Despite this, since you can play your open multiplayer character in single-player mode, if the servers are ever down, you'll be able to build up your character offline. Diablo 2 is a must-have PC title, that's all there is to it. Number 8, Final Fantasy IX on PlayStation. What in particular makes Final Fantasy games so good? Perhaps it's the storyline, or the graphics, or maybe the gameplay. In fact, it's all of these, and there's no denying that Square has created something akin to a well-oiled machine as it moves into the 9th installment in the series. The mature characters and futuristic, romance-heavy plots of the last 2 Final Fantasy titles has been swapped for medieval-esque, super-deformed characters and a more whimsical storyline. There's an undeniable polish to everything seen and unseen in Final Fantasy IX. From the mind-numbing amount of mini-games and submissions to the inclusion of new active time events to the ragtag bunch of memorable characters in your party, you're given so much to do and see that it's nearly impossible to put the controller down. If this is the final Final Fantasy on PlayStation, it's clear that Square saved the best for last. And we're back with number 9, FreeSpace 2 on PC. With FreeSpace, The Great War, Volition showed that it was more than ready to take on the Wing Commander series with a game that featured incredible graphics, a great storyline, and some of the best action anywhere. And you'll be glad to know that this time around, Volition has upped the ante even more and built the best playing and looking space combat game ever. Attention has been paid to every single detail, and there's no weak link, from the storyline to the awesome sound to the control to the graphics. In fact, we'd have to say that the game's only quirk is its huge install size, over 1 gig. Number 10, Madden NFL 2001 on PlayStation 2. If you were a video game console retailer and you wanted to sell a ton of PlayStation 2s over the holiday season, you'd be wise to set up a few demo screens running Madden NFL 2001. But if you really wanted to be a savvy business person, you would set up a kiosk or 2 and let people try the game for themselves. Follow this advice, and we're betting that you're going to run out of units before you run out of credit card waving customers eager to get their hands on what is the greatest video football game in existence. If you're of the belief that all reviews must point out something negative about a game, you're going to be disappointed here. Madden NFL 2001 has superb gameplay, even better graphics, and enough substance to make you forget about those other weak launch titles. Number 11, NFL 2K1 on Dreamcast. When NFL 2K was released as part of the initial Dreamcast lineup, nearly every print and online publication anointed it as the greatest sports game ever made. We here at Next Gen, though, are a bit harder to please. While we appreciated the sheer beauty of the game and saw a glimpse of greatness, the fact that the running game was poorly implemented prevented us from giving the game our highest reward. What a difference a year can make! We're happy to report that NFL 2K1 is now worthy of our full praise. The running and blocking code has been completely overhauled, resulting in one of the most intense, action-packed games of football we've ever seen. NFL 2K1 is a great playing game, both online and off, and a significant advance over last year's version. Number 12, Planetscape Torment on PC. If you've ever woken up after a night of overindulgence with a staggering headache and little to no memory of how you got that way, then you're sure to find a twinge of sympathy for the main protagonist in Planetscape Torment during the bleak opening CG sequence. After that brilliant opening, however, things just keep getting better and better, until Planetscape establishes itself as one of the best RPGs of the year. With quality writing that draws you into a world filled with dreams that have substance, characters that have more personality than anything Square has offered, and some of the most inventive environments and quests we've ever seen, Torment offers the best RPG gameplay anyone can find on store shelves, hands down. Number 13, Quake III Arena on PC. Quake 3 is a technological behemoth, an engine that can trample over most others without even blinking. Gorgeous lighting, curved surfaces, and hair trigger controls are all pieces of what is essentially the world's most optimized PC game platform. As the old adage goes, however, it's not the tool, but what you do with it, or something like that. That brings us down to the retail version of Quake III Arena, a game that has had PC owners slavering over the last 2 years. It's now at a store near you, waiting eagerly to be adopted by a loving home. Don't be fooled though, Quake III Arena isn't for everybody. This time around, id has decided to forego the single-player game and instead developed it for an all-multiplayer audience. The bottom line is that this is the best deathmatch yet. Period. End of story. If you want single player or storyline, then buy Half-Life. If you want a great deathmatch and near infinite expandability, Quake 3 is the best in the business. Number 14, Resident Evil Code Veronica on Dreamcast. No game on the Dreamcast has been more anticipated than Capcom's 4th installment of the Resident Evil series. With such massive hype preceding it, you'd think that it would be hard for the game to live up to its own press. And perhaps normally that'd be the case, unless the game truly was as amazing as Code Veronica actually is. The game is scary, action-packed, masterfully told, and beautifully realized. Have we also mentioned that it's incredibly long? This is the best game yet on the Dreamcast. In fact, it's one of the best games we've seen in the past couple of years. Number 15, Samba de Amigo on Dreamcast. Rhythm action games may never take off here in the States, but that hasn't stopped Japan from constantly innovating on the highly playable subgenre. The latest in the quirky gameplay comes in the form of 2 maracas that you plug into the console and shake around according to the rhythm of the music and patterns on the screen. It's simple, it's wonderfully abstract, and it's incredibly fun. The cost is the sticking point. An import copy and 1 set of maracas typically costs around $260, and the game is much more fun with 2 players each with their own set. We expect the game to come out in the US at a third of the price, but we're pondering how accessible such a pricey game will be to a mass market it will clearly enthrall. Number 16, San Francisco Rush 2049 on Dreamcast. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the latest entry in the series that just keeps getting better Hall of Fame, San Francisco Rush. The new Rush 2049 takes everything that was great about the previous Rush games and ups the ante across the board. There are more tracks and more wild shortcuts. The cars can jump even further, and the stunt mode is, as always, a complete blast. Simply put, it's great stuff. It's a new addition to the game itself, however, that really pushes this over the top. Rush has always been a great multiplayer experience, but 2049 throws in a new combat mode that is at once simple, balanced, and utterly addictive, putting more elaborate car combat games like Twisted Metal and Vigilante 8 to shame. This alone is worth the price of admission and will perk up just about any party.
We're the Crush Crew from Queens, New York.
And we just crushed those tired Minnesota Vikings!
We burnt Dwayne Run like his mom is nasty breakfast toast. Somebody call the burn unit. What's happening, Dwayne? Somebody help out Dwayne. Get NFL 2K1. Go online through Dreamcast and yo! Show them the web address. Look for Crush Crew and stomp these mullet-wearing, T-top driving hairballs. Stomp them!
And we're back with number 17, Sega GT on Dreamcast. Sega GT is Sega's clear answer to Sony's Gran Turismo. It features the same bevy of fast Japanese cars, the same kind of street-based racetracks, and the same shiny, highly buffed attention to detail. There's no complaints about the graphics. The cars eschew the brassy glare of Gran Turismo for a less shiny, more realistic look, and the tracks and special effects are beyond compare. Reviewing this seems to come down to making comparisons with Gran Turismo, and that's unfortunate, because on its own merits, Sega GT is stunning. Number 18, Shenmue on Dreamcast. By now, you're probably aware that Shenmue is game maestro Yu Suzuki's magnum opus. Years and millions upon millions of yen in the making, it's a sprawling, intricately detailed combination of action and adventure, casting you in the role of martial arts student Ryo Hazuki. This is the most fully realized virtual world ever created. Every drawer and cabinet in Ryo's house can be opened and examined. Even the paintings can be taken down off the walls. In the final analysis, Shenmue stands as a phenomenal achievement. Few titles, perhaps none, have pulled off the blend of gameplay styles with such panache. And certainly no game has offered such a rock-solid, completely realized, fully populated world. This will remain a high watermark for years. Number 19, SSX on PlayStation 2. Throughout this year, there's been plenty of talk about the best game lineup for the US launch of the PlayStation 2. Gran Turismo 2000 was lauded and praised, as was Dark Cloud and Madden 2001. What nobody expected was that SSX, the underhyped snowboarding game from EA that has gone through many complete revisions, would break out and become the hands-down best game at launch. It is, bringing the feel of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater together with the best parts of Road Rash and setting them all against the most magnificent levels ever to grace a snowboarding game. SSX is the ultimate example of a console game done right. Number 20, SWAT 3 Close Quarter Battle on PC. With SWAT 3, Sierra has done something that Red Storm singularly failed to do. Take a long, hard look at what made Rainbow Six a great game and improved upon it. SWAT 3 takes the genre to another level, and the reason can be summed up in a simple expression: AI. Your teammates won't shoot you, they won't block you in, they clear rooms on their own, slicing the pie. They'll return fire when fired upon. They can take down terrorists and secure hostages unaided, and they'll even report back to you and tell you what they've done. In short, watching your Element team go to work in SWAT 3 is a bloody marvel. Red Storm may play the realism ticket, but Sierra is the one to have nailed it. Number 21, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater on Dreamcast and Nintendo 64. For those who have been living under a rock, Hawk is the best skateboarding game ever produced. You get to run Tony or some of his skateboarding cronies through a series of masterfully designed tracks and environments, performing mad tricks and stunts in an attempt to score big points. The Dreamcast version has been beefed up to include more potent graphics than its predecessors, Everything else, including the blaring, hammering soundtrack and the challenging 2-player mode, remains intact. Hawk soars, end of story. Number 22, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 on PlayStation. Tony Hawk is back in the skylife again. The sequel to the skateboarding epic Tony Hawk's Pro Skater returns the soaring trick man to video game glory. All is right with the world. No one will ever complain that Activision sought to rest on its laurels. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 even outdoes the original in many ways, filling its plate with plenty of new features. The game offers new skaters, new parks, new maneuvers, and a new create a park option, and more. Although it seems a tad mercenary to have Hawk and his comrades collect bundles of money, brilliant level designs will enable you to exercise maximum trick creativity, and the quest for the best trick ever will keep the masses yearning for the blue yonder. Like the original, this one is a must-have. Number 23, Ultimate Fighting Championship on Dreamcast. Crave Entertainment has done a splendid job bringing the UFC to Dreamcast with a game whose true beauty is that it's unlike any fighting game that's ever come before. Completely lifelike and based scrupulously on the real cage fighting of the UFC, this may be the first ever fighting game to present fighting as it really looks. There are no spin kicks, cartwheels, or forward flips. Most fights actually end up on the ground, where a grappling match develops. UFC is one of the best fighting games of all time, and by far the most true to life. It will thoroughly satisfy anyone looking for a mano-a-mano combat game. And finally, in number 24, Virtua Tennis on Dreamcast. Despite slightly misstepping with NHL 2K and Virtua Soccer, Sega has done an incredible job supporting sports enthusiasts with beautiful and highly playable renditions of everything from football to fishing. Virtua Tennis is much closer to the later in terms of underground popularity, but it still provides a spectacular experience for all gamers, not just fans of the sport. Well, it's missing a few goodies, like why are there no female players or no online play? Virtua Tennis is the most entertaining tennis game since the Super Nintendo days, and one of the best Dreamcast games this year.
Look at what we're launching. Now for N64 and Game Boy Advance. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. We're talking lots of new tricks and hundreds of insane new combos. There's even more courses, a park designer, and a dream team of skaters to choose from. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 for N64 and Game Boy Advance. Rated E for everyone.
Hey, thanks for watching us talk about classic magazine reviews. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we have one more episode to post before the end of the year. That's right, the series finale will drop next Friday, so be there. Or here, as it is. Also, you can catch up with the past episodes as well as Next Generation's 1-star reviews in the playlist, so go and check that out. Now, here's the question I have for you. What was your favorite game of 2000? Was it one of these games the Next Generation loved, or did they totally sleep on your favorite game? Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back tomorrow with a look at classic Christmas-themed magazine covers. You're definitely going to want to tune in for that one. In the meantime, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.